What a great way to start off October. Get ready for a month of horror games. But yes, after what feels like a very long wait and a whole lot of silence, the Silent Hill 2 remake is finally here. Now, this will probably be an interesting video, I'll say that right off the bat, and I bet it will probably be a little surprising, as the Silent Hill and the gaming community in general have been pretty split on what's been shown before now, aside from the reviews the past couple of days. I won't spoil that yet though. Today though, it's time to find out who's right, if the remake's great, or if there was just no point. Quick spoiler now, it's pretty freaking good, and I bet a lot of people feel stupid about what they said before. But along with reviewing the Silent Hill 2 remake as if it is any other 2024 horror survival game, I'll also be doing some comparing to the classic Silent Hill 2 and see how faithful things really are. And I will clarify now, I will only be looking at the first roughly 2 hours of gameplay. I don't want to spoil too much, I know it is a story we all know, but there actually is a good amount of differences that, as I said, I just don't want to spoil it, along with the new players playing Silent Hill for the first time. But I am taking way too long, we waited enough for this game to come, so let's just get into Silent Hill 2. So, as I said, first I'm going to look at Silent Hill 2 on its own, as if it wasn't a remake but any other horror game in 2024. And I will just spoil now, just like the Resident Evil remakes, Konami and Bloober brought a classic back to life. Like, you have probably already seen the reviews, but people are loving this remake. But when actually looking at the game and how things are, the first thing I want to look at is the gameplay and how everything feels. And what's the first thing I have to say about everything? Wow. Just wow.
Wow.
Starting off with one of the biggest changes in the remake as it affects the whole game, that being the ditching of the fixed camera. Yeah, you guessed it, Silent Hill 2 follows the Resident Evil remakes, deciding to go for the third-person over-the-shoulder point of view, which is just the norm nowadays, so honestly that was expected. Time dictates some features, And the devs actually managed pretty well. Sure, the FOV is a little too low for me, but other than that, everything feels pretty smooth. The camera placement is in a good position, it's like not too centered or not too off to the side, I don't know. It reminds me of Alan Wake 2's gameplay, along with, as I said, the Resident Evil remakes. Even the original director praised the switch to the third-person camera, saying that Bloober did it really well. And I do know that is a boring thing to start with, but as I said, it is one of the biggest changes when looking at the remake. On the side of controls though, things are smooth, transitioning from running to walking is fine, there's honestly not that much jank. After replaying the classic Silent Hill 2 in preparation for this, the over-the-shoulder just feels much more natural and in line with games I'm playing today. I never really was a fan of the fixed cameras. But aside from feeling and onto what you're doing, Silent Hills 2 Remake actually does a good job keeping you entertained. Like right off the bat, walking into the town for the first time, you'll notice buildings to enter and explore, things to loot, puzzles to solve, like everywhere. There's fixing the record in the bar or figuring out the code to the supermarket. The pacing just does a good job at pushing things forward, but at your own pace. What I mean is the game leaves you to figure out a lot of things before pushing you into the next area or the next part of the game. And then on a different side of gameplay, there are also a bunch of cool mechanics and some things that we have seen before. Some examples might be the map. You collect maps for every new area, and as you find key items or locked doors or points of interest and such, you'll see James pull the map out and mark it. And then when checking the map, you will be able to tell whether you completed certain areas or not. This is where you find out where you need to go next, what you need to do. You just check the map. And then another cool little thing is if you want to get into buildings. Maybe you need to find the key, or maybe you just need to break the glass window in the front and hop in. And the same goes for cars. There might be goods hiding in the cars and all you have to do is break the windows. And that is just a cool feature. You might not know that until you go swinging and you break a window and realize it's an enterable building. And I really like that. And then for some of the things we've seen, the saving. There aren't really a lot of autosaves, there are a few, but instead of there being constant autosaves, there are save points in the form of a little red piece of paper that some of us know all too well. But those aren't even all the cool mechanics, obviously. There are things like water getting you wet as far as you've stepped in, or footprints left behind after walking through blood puddles. Like, the devs really did a good job making the atmospheres not only look amazing, but feel amazing too. Now I'll get back to looks in a second though. The last gameplay aspect before getting to combat, though, is the puzzle solving, which there's not really a lot to talk about. It's puzzle solving. Not that it's bad, but we've seen it like 1,000 times before. Collect items, put them together, investigate notes, like it's the good old puzzle solving system as the classic horror games. I guess you just don't fix what ain't broke. But finally, now onto the combat. Another big change to the remake, and also something I think was done really, really well. Like, I also just recently played through the Callisto Protocol for a video I'm doing, and the Silent Hill 2 combat feels otherworldly. Everything feels so smooth and light while still packing a punch with every hit. You can go up against an enemy or two without feeling overwhelmed by mechanics, it's just swinging and dodging. Oh, and there's even dodging, so when lying figures start shooting their bile at you, you can just move out of the way now. Though, I will admit, sometimes there are moments where you swing in the complete opposite direction, which can throw everything off, causing issues when fighting multiple enemies or when fighting in close quarters. But when you do end up getting hit, as some enemies can be a pain, you do have a couple of different items that you can find around to heal, be it the health drinks or syringes, both having a different amount that they heal. And then, an hour or so into the game, you will get your first taste of gunplay, which, like other things, are pretty similar to things we've seen before. You aim, you shoot, you reload. The guns do have a good weight to them though, giving off realistic kick, they have great detail, and they deal a good amount of damage. One complaint I do have about the guns though, is some of the gunfire sounds. Like the 9mm for example, just does not really sound like a 9mm. And with the guns, there's obviously ammo, which you will find to be pretty sparse, and you will have to conserve in some fights as there is heavy weapon sway and sometimes you will miss your shots. You want to make sure you get the accurate shots and you want to make sure you save your ammo. Which is not a bad thing, because when horror games like to give you mass amounts of ammo, it stops feeling like a horror game and just starts feeling like a shooter. But I can talk about the gameplay forever. I've just been loving playing, but I've also been loving what I'm seeing. So let's just move over to the graphics and how everything looks. And again, just wow.
Hey! Wow.
From the moment the game started, my jaw was on the floor. That first cutscene with James in the bathroom, pressing on his hand and you can see the imprint, you can see the tan line of the ring. Then you walk into town. I mean, Unreal Engine 5 is really doing a lot here because it looks like you're actually walking through the woods. That's also thanks to the environments and atmospheres too, as the design is honestly spectacular. All of the small things like foliage, clothing, and posters, all the way to the locations like the graveyard or the certain rooms in the apartment buildings. I have yet to find a location or an item where I said to myself, this doesn't look good. Everything has looked amazing so far. And then with those amazing new graphics, it makes moments so much more tense and terrifying. Locations are creepier, monster models are even more detailed and disgusting. Who knew I didn't want to see a high-res pyramid man doing his little dance? But then, the dense fog making the open streets less open, or dimly lit bars with covered windows, making things even more terrifying. But back to the monster models, we also get some great character models too. I don't care what people are saying about the changes to characters like James or Angela, because they all look great. But come on, honestly, the models look realistic, features are animated correctly, and you can see actual emotion. So I'm pretty happy with it. But yeah, on the side of graphics, I say it all the time, you can just check out how everything looks for yourselves. It's right here on screen, just take a look. One thing that's not graphics though, and something I should talk about more, the sound design in this game, which is also pretty top notch. Even better than some games in my opinion. Hearing screeches in the distance, or the radio going off sounding like a Geiger counter when monsters are nearby. Every single sound was just music to my ears, immersing me further into the environments. And speaking of music too, the music in the game also surprised me. the super sad music when reminiscing about your wife, or the eerie twangs when walking past the farm for the first time. I don't know, all in all, the sound designers did a great job tying everything together with an aspect you don't even think about sometimes.
Could Mary really be here? Is she really alive?
And then the voice actors also went all out too, really adding on to everything. I am droning on, I know, but one example of that is the first conversation with Eddie.
It wasn't me. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I swear I didn't kill him.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm not saying that you did. Look, my name is James. James Sunderland.
Maybe together we can find a way out of this town.
Oh, sorry, but I can't leave. Not yet. I need to find someone.
See, I mean, you can feel and hear their emotions, and it causes you to feel more and become more attached to the certain characters, especially James. I think the voice actor for James absolutely killed it.
I guess I don't really care if it's dangerous or not. I'm going either way.
As I did say though, I am droning on, ranting about all the great things that I found with this game. Now though, it is time to talk about the reasons I think Silent Hill 2 is almost perfect, and some of the negativities that I did find. So the first thing I want to start off with is the price tag. $70 is too much for a remake. I know it's beautiful, I know it is crazy good, but when you really think about it, this is still Silent Hill 2, the game that came out 23 years ago. And yeah, there are differences, there are changes, the game looks great, there's a bunch of new production that went into it, but I don't know if you can justify that $70 price tag for the base game, with it also having an $80 price tag for the deluxe edition. That's the first thing that really got me. I got it because I wanted to play it, but the price did kind of hurt me when I bought it. But then on to the next issue I have had. I have saved this until now, but my experience with Silent Hill 2 has been far from perfect and frustrating to say the least. So let me just explain to you what happened. So the frustration all started with the lack of the ability to preload. I understand you don't want people hacking into the files and playing it early, but it is kind of an inconvenience when I have to sit there for an hour and download the game and I can't play it at release time. I want to play it at release time and I still have to download it. That's just an inconvenience. That was just an inconvenience. But I load up the game, I'm so excited, and I get everything set up, and it is running like garbage. I mean, hot garbage. It is running so bad. And now, I don't have a top tier PC or anything, but I do have a good enough PC to play any new title, and this was bothering me. Why was it running so clunky? I should be getting at least 45 frames, but I'm getting 25 frames, so I'm trying to figure everything out. So I reload the game, and things are actually running a little bit better, but then it crashes again. So I'm like, okay, let's figure out the crashing and these performance issues. So I go online and people already having this issue, and there was a report that was like 2 hours old, and it was already talking about all the crashing and stuttering. So I was like, okay, this game might be a little broken. And I figure out that you need to turn off HAGs, or the hardware accelerated GPU stuff. So I turn that off, and I get into the game, and it actually starts working good. It starts running at around 65 to 70 frames. So I'm like, okay, that was the issue. I don't know what was going on there, but turning that off seemed to fix everything. But then it crashed. Every time I walked to that first staircase, minutes into the game, it would crash. I was restarting my PC and it would crash. And then it would let me go a little bit further. I would make it almost to the first save point and it would crash. It would just keep crashing, so I would never make it to that first save point. I had to keep skipping the beginning, and then finally, I make it to the graveyard, and my computer blue screens. Yeah, it breaks and crashes my whole entire system. The game's not crashing anymore, my system is crashing, so I do not know what's going on. But by that point, I had made it to the first save, so I keep trying, because I just want to play this game. And eventually, I don't know what happened. things just started to work. I mean, every 45 minutes to an hour it was crashing, but other than that, things kind of smoothed out. The game was running at above 60 frames, I was enjoying myself, things were looking good, and all I had to do was restart the game every once in a while. Comparatively, it was okay. But then to today, I look at all my footage and I realize OBS was not recording correctly. All of the footage is complete garbage too. I couldn't use any of that footage. Now I'm trying to figure out, is it a driver issue? I know the most recent driver is having a bunch of issues. Is it an OBS issue? It's not doing this in other games. Why just Silent Hill? Is Silent Hill 2 resource heavy? No, because I can play Cyberpunk on Ultra with a bunch of mods and still record it and it still looks fine. Now this is where I was racking my brain. What to do. So I played Bear and Breakfast and I gave up on that, but I'm planning on playing more tonight. There's not an issue of crashing or anything anymore. It's just a recording issue. I can't get good footage of the game now, but I will say that's a bunch of issues and the game is kind of broken. We need a day one patch, or we need a patch in general. We need something to fix all of these issues. But the game is just that fun that I was able to ignore all of that after getting into it. I was enjoying myself so much that I forgot about all of that. And when I noticed how late it was getting and how long I had played for, I was happy. I didn't really care. But yeah, those are the only two issues I can find. First, I think the game is a little bit too expensive, and second, I think Unreal Engine 5 is causing a little bit of issues. I know it can be a little bit finicky. It might be awesome, but it's also a little not awesome. In reality though, who cares about Angela? Who cares about opening doors? I saw complaints about people saying you have to open too many doors. The game needs a couple of patches before things are running at 100%, but aside from that, the gameplay is fantastic, the graphics are fantastic, the horror is fantastic, the changes are welcomed, the third-person camera fantastic is fantastic.
What?
It's all great in my opinion, and I think it's almost perfect only because of those couple of issues. But I have been ranting and raving like a complete lunatic, trying my best to step around Silent Hill 2, the classic. So now that we know how the remake is as a game, let's finally get into the comparisons and just how faithful Silent Hill 2's remake really is. And really quickly, before getting into the comparison, if you are enjoying this video so far and you want to see more videos like it, slap that like now, and why not subscribe to stay up to date on everything to come. But onto the comparisons between Silent Hill 2 and the remake. Looking at my notes, dang. I mean, comparing a 2001 game to a 2024 remake, I expected there to be a good few differences, improvements, and such, but I didn't expect myself to write down so much. And with that, I think I'm just gonna go over a couple of the big ones, quick fire through some of the smaller ones, and then maybe save the full comparison for another video. And I do apologize if you hear some ruckus in the background, that is a ferret going nuts. Getting right into it though, things start off already pretty faithful. We get that bathroom scene with James looking at himself in the mirror, it just looks way better now. And then we get him walking out and it panning over the ridge with that tree line right in front. It looks exactly like the original, just a lot more realistic now. One difference here though is the addition of a bunch of new cutscenes. Like that beginning, instead of starting in the bathroom and leaving yourself, it is now just one long cutscene. And this does happen quite a few times, which I don't think is bad by any means, but actually more cinematic all around. We also get little voiced thoughts for James now rather than having to read what he's thinking on the bottom of the screen through subtitles, which is also definitely welcomed. And then some more of the big changes come in the form of locations and story sequencing, such as the first fight. Most will probably remember walking down that long foggy road, following the figure until you got to the underpass, hearing static, finding the radio, and your first lying figure. In the remake though, you follow it into a garage, finding the radio on a couch in a house, and fighting your first monster in that house. Or another thing is when you need to get into the apartments. In the classic Silent Hill, you could pretty much just find the key and go to the apartments within 10 or 20 minutes. Now though, you get to travel through the town doing the jukebox puzzle amongst other things, then having to go through the whole other apartment complex just to get into the Woodside apartments. And you'll notice a bunch of these changes, but they really aren't a bad thing. Not only is the basis of the story itself, but probably 75% of the remake is faithful to the source. But a rough 30, maybe even 40%, knocking that 70 down to 60, is changed. But kind of for the best. I don't think it only fixes things like pacing and backtracking, but it also fixes the issue of not being new. Just like with the Dead Space remake, I feel like the devs wanted longtime fans of the game to have a new experience, not expecting where everything is and how to solve it, but still having that nostalgic Silent Hill 2 experience. Not to mention, some of the changed up scenes create even scarier and gorier moments, making you even more unnerved, like your first mannequin encounter. And then there are other things that changed that are small things, like the third-person switch. There's better combat, there's new notes and sounds. But in reality, Silent Hill 2's remake is actually really faithful. It was just changed to make things more relevant to gaming today. And are people really gonna complain about that? Are people complaining about better graphics, better environments, more buildings, more puzzles, barely any loading screens, better sound design, and voice acting?
But why?
I don't know. I'm not saying the remake is better or anything. I mean, Silent Hill 2 was already a near-perfect horror game released all the way back in 2001. But I will say that this is still a super faithful remake, and it's a beautiful game, and people need to stop complaining just to complain. But if you want to see more, if you want to see what's going on in the other world, if you want to see how great the Silent Hill 2 remake is, I'm gonna just have to say, you're just gonna have to play it for yourselves. Yeah, I've been droning on. That was a long comparison, that was a long review, but yeah, I'm honestly surprised with the Silent Hill 2 remake that we got. Pleasantly surprised.
Impressive. Very nice.
At first, when this was teased, however long ago, everyone thought that it was fake. That it looked like one of those fake remastered videos showing frickin' Bully running in the Unreal Engine. But it was announced to be real, and a bunch of people shat on it. Fast forward to today, we actually have our hands on it, and people are still hating on it. And I couldn't be happier. I will say though, I'm surprised that it only had 17,000 players show up for its launch, or maybe there's more, I don't know, I saw 17,000. I thought there was going to be a lot more people playing, and I do agree that with only 17,000 players, the roughly 7,000 positive reviews on Steam is a little fishy, but that is just Steam, and those are probably all fans of the classic. Plus, I am writing this part less than 12 hours after the release, so give the peeps some time to play. Some people have lives, unlike me and some of you. They're at work, they're at school, they gotta get home before they can play, so don't judge that. Give some people some time to play. I mean, hey, my game was broken for the first 2 hours, so I wasn't even technically one of those players until I actually got into the game. I think I probably was, but you get the gist. But yeah, I'm surprised we got what we got. I'm surprised at the positivity the game's been seeing, and I'm surprised at the negativity. And I'm surprised that this video has gone on this long. So yeah, it's a great remake. I'm excited to see what else Bloober has in store, and I'm excited to wrap things up right here. But I still want to hear all of your thoughts on Silent Hill 2, the remake, or just this video in the comments now. And if you enjoyed this video and possibly want to see more Silent Hill in the future, why not hit that like and subscribe now to stay up to date on everything to come. And if you want to support everything to come, get videos up to a day early, and get your name at the end of future videos, check out a membership to the channel now by pressing that little join button below or the link in the description. And lastly, check out BillyTheWhip on any music platform now to hear all of my own home-cooked mediocre jams. It's me. And with this here, I am sorry this is a bit longer. I'm sorry it took a little bit longer. It was supposed to come out a while ago, this video. As I said, the footage got all messed up. It took me way longer than it was supposed to, but I hope you still enjoyed. Thank you all for the support, and I hope you have a terrifying day.
Go bury your kids before the pigs. They keeping up and they don't resist. They don't give up, they already pissed. They go for the killing, your kids on the list. Got rage in their eyes and blood on their lips. Trust I would know, they out for the whip, for the outlaw-ish. They don't trust a kiss, so I buried them before he took